Now, it might seem perfectly obvious and unnecessary to write an article explaining that when we write dimensions, we write horizontal, vertical, and depth, X, Y, and Z. But the reason I went down this rabbit hole was that if you look at the way that mobile phones and their displays are written, the screen dimensions are actually written as vertical and then horizontal. And yeah, this definitely seems backwards to me. And so I was curious if when people are designing for those types of devices, potentially do you actually write on your design mockups vertical and horizontal, because that's how the screen is for reasons which are unclear to me being advertised. And so that's kind of where this blog post comes from. It's the first in a series. So on this first one here on writing X and Y dimensions, we see that really pretty much everyone in almost every industry writes horizontal, vertical, depth, X, Y, Z, width, height, depth. And that's really the accepted notation. And we know this is true because, one, in user interface software, you see that. That's how it's written. For instance, in Sketch, they write X and Y. We also see this in the graphics industry. When you purchase paper, it's 8.5 by 11 if you're in North America. If you're in science or math class, you would plot on a graph your x-axis and then your y-axis and then the z-axis. When you're looking at television ratios, it's 16 by 9 or 4 by 3. If you look in the alphabet, X comes before Y. If you're looking at display resolutions for monitors or televisions, those resolutions are written out as X and then Y. And even in industrial paper, where there seemed to be a little bit of contention, it seems that, from what I can tell, the direction of the grain is written last. So this means that if you had paper that was coming in at 8 by 24, the grain would be along the 24-inch direction. And this would be important so that you could feed that into a machine along the grain so that the paper doesn't crack. Now, are there exceptions to this rule? And the answer is yes. If you are documenting fine art, paintings, sculptures, you're going to use height first, then width, and then depth. And some publishers and newsprint editors on some of the blogs were saying that at one point they also used height as the first number. And I wonder if this has to do maybe with what I was mentioning before about industrial paper. Anyway, there is one other exception, which I do not entirely understand yet, regarding mobile phones and tablets. If you look at those online on the websites, on the specifications, both the device and the screen resolution display height first and then width when the device is oriented in portrait mode, which is the next post.